NUS Pro-Chancellor Mr. Nam Tong Tao, distinguished guests, graduates, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be invited to speak to you this afternoon for this commencement ceremony. This is the second time I'm speaking at NUS on such an occasion, the first being some 20 years ago. And I need very little persuasion from Bernard, the Dean, to do it again, as I have graduated also from this great institution. Well, when I graduated in 1970, some 41 years ago, it was called the University of Singapore. Then we were squatting in a very much modest campus, sharply in contrast with the grandeur of NUS campus of today. After graduation and a memorable stint with the National Service in the Singapore Armed Forces, I had the great fortune of working both in the public and private sectors, spending the first 22 years in the civil service and the last 19 years in the commercial world. During my public service career, I was building camps and military infrastructures, Changi airports, and finally heading an industrial research institute. Whilst in the private sector, I was involved in engineering construction bases, and for the last 15 years in property development and investments. When drafting this speech, I asked myself whether there is something useful I can distill from my experiences to relate to you this afternoon, having been exposed to two very different worlds of the private and public sectors in my career. I've often been asked about my management style and what key factors have contributed to whatever achievement that I have made in my career. Several years ago, I wrote an email to my staff to answer a frequently asked question. In short, three personal characteristics, which I call the 3 Ps, have greatly influenced me in my career. They are namely paranoid, perfection, and perseverance. I will first have to confess that I was a born paranoid person. Some may quickly view this as a negative character trait, but I found this innate character of mine a useful guardian to anticipate and plan for a state of readiness for any trouble ahead. In a known way, being paranoid is quite a common Singaporean characteristic. Paranoid is just another psychoanalytical word for what we mischievously call Hokkien kiasu. Indeed, I think it is a national mental phenomenon, naturally imbued into Singaporeans, whose forefathers were poor and unprotected immigrants from China, India, and other parts of Southeast Asia, arriving to unknown Singapore in the 20th century to make a living. We lived through the British colony rule, the Japanese occupation, and the little red dot nation had to be paranoid enough to defend itself against its much larger neighbors. Indeed, we have many valid reasons to be paranoid, whether as a person or as a country. Hence, you will find Singapore, a small country without any natural resources, and Singaporean with an immigrant's mindset, being naturally paranoid, as we have to face crisis over crisis. We have to plan to survive any untoward eventuality and to face what the economists call black swan events. Events which, though may have low probability of happening, but would have high impact on us if they do happen. Besides survival instinct, paranoia is also ingrained in me as a trained civil engineer. In civil engineering, we had to be paranoid to overcome the challenges and unpredictability of nature and environment. We had to plan for nature's unexpected forces at the most unforeseen times, be it 1 in 100 years rainstorm, earthquake, or tsunami. If you had to be convinced of the importance of being paranoid, I recommend you to read a simple book entitled Only the Paranoid Survive by Andrew Grove, the very respectable and reputable former chairman of Intel. You will learn how he detected the inflection point in the chip industry and how his paranoia led him to avoid Intel from bankruptcy. In the early days of our nationhood in 1965, many political critics dismissed Singapore's survivability as a smallish young country without resources. This explains the degree of detailed planning the government indulged in the defense of our sovereignty, in housing to build a cohesive society where every Singaporean has roots in education to ensure that our workforce is well trained and to make a living, and in building up a healthy financial reserve for rainy days ahead. It does not matter that we are accused of being too much of a central planning, or trying to be a nanny state, as we have in fact moved ahead of other emerging countries. I, for one, have benefited greatly from such paranoia. Perfection, the second P, is a mental discipline which we must be able to garner in order to do well in life. It is this sense of perfection ingrained in us that a high standard of performance can be achieved in whatever we try to do. Perfection takes time, and it cannot be achieved by haste. As someone said, perfection is a child of time. To me, it is pointless if we can do something very fast, but the result is of poor quality of work. And perfection means looking at every minor details. In my business as a property developer, for example, I spend lots of time to examine closely the architectural and interior design for each and every one of our building projects. I will still personally study and approve the layout of projects, the building architectural forms, the landscape design, and the plans to be used, the clubhouse, the gyms, the car parks, and details like exact use of materials for building finishes, even toilet amenities. Perfection means addressing every minor detail and not letting it up until a high standard is achieved. As Michelangelo once said, trivials make perfection, and perfection is not trivial. Perfection requires extra effort. In 1990, we had to build 2 5-star hotels, one in Yangon and one in Hanoi. In those days, the contractors' workers in these third world cities were mostly farm workers and had no training in the construction industry. How do we expect them to produce quality of work for luxury hotels to our perfect satisfaction then? We just had to be patient to supervise them to repeat the work over and over again till perfection is achieved. If a brick wall is poorly constructed, my instruction is we will just repeatedly instruct them to demolish and redo over and over again till the wall is properly formed. The workers learned the lesson painfully, but eventually we succeeded to build 2 lovely luxury hotels in the standard that we want in Hanoi and Yangon. As a Chinese proverb says, the gem cannot be polished without friction, nor man perfected without trials. As you can say, perfection cannot be achieved without time and effort. As Salvador Dali encouragingly said, do not fear perfection. You will never achieve it. Perseverance is a third P. It's an important key factor to pursue our goal in life, especially the difficult and ambitious one. With the recent examination behind you, I'm sure you will remember that you had to persevere in your studies to pass your exam. In the future, it will also be the same when you undergo specialized training in your profession, to build your career, to develop a business, to learn a new hobby, to finish a marathon, or to win the hearts of your loved ones to be. When my company CapitaLand was first listed in the year 2000, we sailed straight into a non-stop series of global troubled waters, befitting the name of a perfect storm. In sequence, year by year, since formation of the company, we had to face, for example, the internet bubble burst in 2001, September 11 terrorist attack in New York, the Iraq War, 2 Bali bombings and SARS, and the economic downturn in Singapore. To add to the crisis, investors and analysts did not buy our strategy of exporting our property business overseas, and least of all, to China. They then also initially had very little confidence in what they saw was a bunch of ex-civil servants trying to run a large multi-sector and multi-geography listed company. We persevere, and we were steadfast in our plans and vision, and we labor on. Within 5 years, we expanded and doubled the market value of the company as we demonstrate that we could deliver on our strategy. We are today the largest listed real estate company in Southeast Asia, one of the largest in Asia too, operating in 20 countries and 110 cities. Perseverance calls for a host of personal traits, including willpower, determination, patience, and tolerance, and a high threshold of pain. It needs tenacity and courage too. According to an Italian proverb, he conquers who endures. And without perseverance, nothing great can be achieved. As a Welsh proverb goes, without perseverance, talent is a barren bed. The 3P have been the basic key success factor in my career. However, in my current study of leadership quality, I came to the conclusion that one more important P must be present if you want to excel in leadership. And that P stands for passion. If you have the 3 Ps, you could perform well as an executive or manager. You could survive and do well at that level. But if your aspiration is higher in performance, you need all the passion in you to do the extra bit. As Desiree Benjamin once said, man is only truly great when he acts from passion. Let me say a few words on passion in my career or business. First, we must be passionate about the business or product we are in. I'm in the property business, so I must be passionate about the property we are developing, be it residential homes, shopping malls, offices, hotels, or service apartments. It has to be more than just domain knowledge, as I must love those building design and be able to visualize their development with such passion that a good property development project can be conceived, planned, and built. I don't believe we can be a leading property developer if we just think of making money out of property development and not love what we design and develop. I think such passion must be prevalent in us, whether we are in manufacturing, service industry, or in the public sector. Secondly, you must have passion with people we work with about how we see them as our talent, as our human capital, and to witness how we can grow with them. Many managers and leaders talk about people being their valuable assets. I'm frankly disappointed that much of this is only lip service slogans. We have to be concerned in caring about the people in our organization. Ultimately, they are key in helping us achieve our goal. I strongly feel that if we have no passion for people, we can't build the team spirit to succeed. Thirdly, we must have full passion for the core value system that we believe in. Again, it is no point putting up beautiful statements all over the offices about our core values if we do not believe, persevere, and be passionate about it. Unless we are true to them, we will not have a strong moral compass to guide us to long-term success. In summary, I have described the 4 P representing paranoia, perseverance, perception, and passion, which have been the guiding principle in the 4 decades of my own career. And finally, I'd like to wholeheartedly congratulate all graduates at today's commencement ceremony. For the Chinese scholars and graduates from the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, I hope you have enjoyed your stay and course here. You will surely have missed your home and family, but I trust you should be happy and all ready now to return back to China to serve the government with new skill sets and thinking. For the NUS Business Administration and Accountancy graduate, I wish you the best in your job hunting and to a great future ahead. Thank you.